I lent a close friend a huge amount. No pressure, no interest, just faith. But the moment I reminded them about repayment, I stopped being family and became greedy. You ever have one of those moments where someone looks you in the eye, lays their soul bare, and you actually believe them? That was me, standing in my kitchen, coffee in hand, while my brother, my actual blood, told me he just needed a little help. Just until I get back on my feet, he said. His voice cracked a bit when he said it. Not enough to break down, but just enough to make it feel real. And stupid me, I fell for it. Hook, line, and guilt trip. His name is Trevor. 2 years younger than me. Always had a knack for getting into trouble, but somehow always landed soft. I was the steady one. The planner. The one who paid bills on time and never asked for favors. Trevor? He was the dreamer. The schemer. Always chasing some new business idea or side hustle that would definitely work this time. He had charm. I will give him that. That slick kind of charisma that made you forget every dumb thing he had ever done. For a while, anyway. That day, he came over with his tail between his legs. Said he had lost his apartment after a falling out with his business partner. Said his car broke down, and he had been sleeping on someone's couch who was now kicking him out. Said all the right things. I know I messed up, man. But this time, I'm serious. I've got a job lined up, starts next week. I just need a little help. A few grand. I'll pay you back as soon as my first check clears. He even swore on Mom's name, which was a low blow. He knew I still lit a candle for her every year on her birthday. I asked how much he needed. He looked down at his shoes, did that sheepish laugh he always did when he was uncomfortable. 5,000 would cover everything, just to get stable again. After that, I'm good. 5 grand. I should have said no. I should have reminded him of the time he borrowed 200 and disappeared for 6 months. Or the time he promised to split rent and then blew the money in Vegas. But I did not, because he was my brother, and because I wanted to believe people could change. So I wired it to him the next morning. No loan agreement, no interest, no terms, just trust. And that was my first mistake, because 3 months later, I was still waiting for him to pay me back. And worse, he had stopped calling me altogether. But I will get to that part. First, you need to understand what those first few weeks were like. Because at the start, he played the part perfectly. He texted me a thank you paragraph the night the money hit his account. Said I saved his life. Said he owed me big. Said I would see it all back soon. And for a little while, it actually looked like maybe, just maybe, he meant it. But I should have known better. Because Trevor always made the same kind of promises. And this time, the price of believing him would be much, much higher than 5 grand. The Venmo request came on a Tuesday morning. I was at work, staring at spreadsheets, trying to focus, when my phone buzzed. I pulled it out, expecting maybe an update from a client or one of those dumb food delivery coupons I always forget to unsubscribe from. Instead, there it was. Trevor Johnson requests $150. 00, description, groceries and gas, THX bro. No call, no text, just a casual little pop-up like this was all normal. At first, I thought maybe it was a mistake. Maybe he meant to send that to someone else. Maybe he hit the wrong name. But deep down, I knew better. This was Trevor's way of asking without really asking. No conversation, no warning, just a request. I let it sit. He followed up that night with a text. Hey, did you see the request? Cars on EN, fridge is empty. Appreciate you. I remember just staring at the screen. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, and 100 different replies flashed through my head. I could have said, what happened to the job you were starting? Or, I already helped you. What happened to the 5 grand? But instead, I closed the app and left it alone. That should have been the moment I put my foot down, drew a line. But you know what I did? I sent it. Not because I wanted to. Not because I believed he needed it. But because I felt like I had to. Like if I didn't, it would somehow make me the bad guy. That is how it starts. Not with some big betrayal. Just tiny cracks in the story. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing more. The job he said was lined up somehow got delayed. Then it fell through. Then he was waiting on a different offer. All vague. All slippery. And every time I asked for details, he changed the subject or gave me that trust me smile that used to work when we were kids. But I am not a kid anymore. And neither is he. I asked him once if he had any plans to start paying me back. Real calm, no pressure, just a casual check-in. He hit me with, you care more about money than family now. Like that. just flipped it around on me like I was the greedy one. I sat there staring at that message for a long time, because something about it dug deep. It was not just what he said, it was how quick he was to say it. Like it had been loaded and ready, waiting for the first time I dared to ask about my own money. And I wish I could tell you I responded with something strong, something that shut him down. But I didn't. I said, "No, of course not. Just checking in." And that was my second mistake. Because people like Trevor, the moment they know you're still soft, still willing to give, that is when they start taking even more. 2 days later, he posted an Instagram story, new kicks, a bottle of something expensive, and a caption that said, "Leveling up. Haters stay mad." Guess who liked the post? Our cousin, the one he would soon drag into the mess next. When I saw that story, I felt my stomach twist. Trevor had never been subtle, but this was a whole new level of shameless. He was wearing brand new sneakers, some limited edition drop I knew cost at least $200, and flexing a bottle that looked like it belonged in a VIP booth, not in the hands of someone struggling to buy groceries. The caption stung, but it was the comments that really got under my skin. Our cousin Tyler had commented, "Finally, my guy getting what he deserves." I should back up and explain Tyler. He is the kind of guy who always wants to be close to the action, no matter how messy it gets. Grew up just like us, but with more ego than sense. Thinks loyalty means going along with whatever your family does, even if it is wrong. Especially if it is wrong. Trevor and Tyler had always been thick as thieves, both allergic to responsibility. So when I saw Tyler hyping him up, it made one thing clear. Trevor was not just blowing through my money. He was doing it with backup. Later that week, I got a call from my aunt, Tyler's mom. She sounded off, like she had been rehearsing. She started with the usual, "How was work? How was the house? How was my dog, Daisy?" Then came the pause. "You know," she said slowly, "Trevor told me you were doing really well these days. Said you were in a great place financially." I said, "Yeah, I am doing fine." Another pause. "Well, I was wondering if maybe you could help Tyler out too. Just something small, like you did for Trevor." I almost dropped the phone. I asked her what exactly Trevor had told her. She hesitated, then said, "Just that you were generous. That you help when people need it." I could feel my heartbeat in my ears. I did not yell. I did not curse. I just told her the truth. I gave Trevor $5,000. I did it out of trust. He has not paid me back. And now he is out here pretending he made it, while I am still checking my balance every time I fill my gas tank. Silence. Then she mumbled, "Oh," like it was the first time she realized it was not just some casual loan. I ended the call politely, but inside I was livid. Trevor was not just avoiding me. He was selling the lie to everyone else, painting himself as the underdog turned entrepreneur, while I was apparently the walking wallet who loves to help. And it worked, because over the next few days, I started getting these weird little messages from family. Comments like, "You always were the responsible one. It is so good you are in a place where you can give back. Wish more people helped out like you." They did not sound grateful. They sounded expectant, like I was now some kind of unofficial charity. That was when I realized the story had changed. I was no longer the brother who stepped up to help. I was the one expected to keep stepping up. No questions, no limits. And the moment I said no, I knew exactly what they would call me. That moment came sooner than I expected, because the next time Trevor reached out, it was not for money. It was for a favor, one that could cost me more than I was ever prepared to lose. Trevor texted late one night. Real late. I was already in bed, half asleep, when my phone lit up with his name. Just a single line. "Bro, I need a favor. It's serious." I did not respond right away. Just stared at the message, my screen glowing in the dark like a warning sign. I figured I would deal with it in the morning. But then he called. I answered, mostly out of instinct, and right away I could tell. He was in a bind. His voice was fast, jittery, the way it always got when he was nervous but trying to sound cool. Said he got pulled over driving someone else's car. Said there were complications with the registration. Claimed he was fine, but the cops towed the vehicle, and now he needed someone to vouch for him at the impound office to avoid charges. Apparently, he had listed me as the emergency contact. "You do not even have to say much," he said. "Just show your ID, tell them I am your brother, and that the car was borrowed with permission. That is it." I sat up straight, the room spinning a little. "Whose car was it?" I asked. Long pause. Then, "Just a buddy's." Look, it is not stolen or anything. I just need someone solid to back me up. My gut clenched. That was Trevor's pattern. Always something, not a big deal, until it blew up. Always a half-truth wrapped in a panic call. And this time, he was dragging me into it. I told him I needed time to think. He flipped immediately, said I was acting brand new. Said, after everything I have been through, you are really going to leave me hanging over some stupid misunderstanding? I asked again whose car it was. He snapped. You know what, man? I see it now. You changed. You think you are better than me. All that money got you forgetting who has always had your back. That did it. I told him I would not lie to the police. Not for anyone. Especially not for someone who could not even be honest about the mess he was in. He went quiet for a second. Then came the venom. I knew it. You were just like them. Cold. Selfish. Pretending you care about family. But when it matters, you vanish. I hung up. No yelling. No defense. Just done. But I could not sleep after that. Not because I felt guilty, but because I realized something I had been avoiding for months. This was not just about money, or favors, or bad decisions. This was about control. Trevor had always found a way to twist things, to make me feel like the villain every time I said no, to flip generosity into guilt, support into obligation, love into leverage. And I let him. For years. That night, something in me cracked, and for once, it was not under pressure. It was open air. Clarity. A space in my chest where the guilt used to sit. I finally saw the truth. Trevor never wanted help. He wanted a lifeline with no conditions. And I was the only one still handing him the rope. I decided to cut the rope. But what I did not expect was how fast he would turn everyone else against me. It started small. A vague Facebook post from Trevor. Some people only show up when you have something to offer. Sad how fast folks forget where they came from. No names. No tags. Just enough shade to spark speculation. Then came the DMs, from cousins I had not spoken to in years. From old friends of his. From people who had no clue what was really going on. One message said, he said you left him high and dry in a legal situation. That true? Another asked, why are you acting like you are too good for family now? And then the worst one, from my aunt again. I raised you better than this. Trevor said you refused to help when he was facing jail time. What happened to being a man of your word? That one hit different. Because when she said, raised you better, she really meant, raised you to stay quiet. Raised you to endure. To serve. To never push back. That was the unspoken rule in our family. The one who held it all together did not get to complain. You were expected to absorb everything. Every ask, every burden, every guilt trip, because you were this stable one. And if you ever said enough, you became the problem. I did not respond to any of them. I just watched as the narrative took shape. Trevor had spun it perfectly. I was the greedy brother who turned his back. The successful one who forgot his roots. The selfish one who let his own blood twist in the wind. He even posted a story of him and Tyler at a bar, holding up shots with the caption, real ones stick together. The rest? Fake smiles and bank balances. I won't lie. Part of me wanted to explode. Wanted to go online and air every receipt I had, screenshots, text logs, timestamps of every wire transfer. But I didn't, because this was no longer about proving myself right. It was about reclaiming something I did not even realize I had lost. My dignity. I spent so long trying to be the good one, the dependable one, the brother who never said no. And what did it get me? A shrinking bank account, a reputation twisted by lies, and a family that only showed up when my wallet was open. So I did the one thing none of them expected. I stopped replying. I stopped defending myself. And I started talking to a lawyer. Because if Trevor thought betrayal was going to be free, he was about to learn what real consequences look like. I met with the lawyer the following week. His name was Ben, mid-40s, clean-cut, spoke in calm, measured tones like he had seen every kind of mess and cleaned it up twice. I laid it all out for him. The $5,000, the Venmo requests, the favor I refused, the smear campaign that followed. When I finished, he nodded and said, this isn't just family drama. This is financial exploitation and defamation, depending on how far he's taken it. I blinked. I had not thought of it that way. Ben said something that stuck with me. When someone uses your kindness as currency, it's not generosity anymore. It's theft dressed up in family ties. That was the moment I decided I was done playing defense. We drafted a formal letter of repayment. No threats, No legal jargon meant to intimidate. Just facts. A timeline. The full amount. A final deadline. Delivered by certified mail with a read receipt. I sent it on a Friday. By Sunday, my phone exploded. Trevor did not text me directly. He went nuclear on social media instead. Some people would rather lawyer up against their own blood than pick up a damn phone. Keep your money. Hope it keeps you warm at night. The comments came pouring in. Cousins. Distant relatives. Even a few of his friends I barely knew. Wow. This is what success does to people. Money changes folks. Your own brother, man. That's cold. I did not respond. Not out of weakness, but because I had finally learned. Silence is not surrender. Sometimes it is armor. Then the real kicker came. Trevor's girlfriend messaged me. Now, I had barely ever spoken to her. Met her once at a cookout and got the usual, "You're the responsible one" line. But this time, she was not being polite. She asked if I had really sent a lawyer after him. I said yes. She paused for a moment, then typed, "Good. Maybe now he'll stop using people." That message flipped the whole thing. Turns out, Trevor had not just borrowed from me. He had borrowed from her too. Maxed out one of her credit cards. Told her it was temporary until his business took off. He never paid her back either. She told me he had borrowed from 3 other friends in the past 6 months. And suddenly, the whole picture came into focus. It was never about being down on his luck. Trevor was not drowning. He was floating on everyone else's backs. But here is where it gets even messier. Because someone else in the family found out the truth. And for the first time, they turned on him too. It was my uncle, Uncle Ray, to be exact, who finally broke the silence. He was not the loud one in the family. Not the type to get in people's business. But he had always kept an eye on things, especially when it came to family money. He was the kind of guy who believed in paying back what you owed, no matter what. So when he called me out of the blue and said, "I need to talk to you about Trevor," I knew something was coming. He had heard about the letter. Not from Trevor, but from Tyler, who apparently had been bragging that I was lawyering up like some rich guy. Ray asked me for the full story, so I gave it to him. Every dollar, every lie, every guilt trip. And when I was done, there was just silence on the line. Then Ray let out this long sigh and said, "I gave him money too. 2,000 last fall. Said it was for rent. He told me he paid you back already." That hit me hard. Not just because Trevor had lied to me, but because he had lied about me to people who had respected me. Ray had defended Trevor in front of others, thinking I had already been made whole. And now he realized he had been played too. "He made me feel like you were just bitter," Ray said quietly. "Like you were holding some old grudge. But now I see it. He's not asking for help. He's running a scam." I asked if he was going to confront him. Ray said, "Not yet. I want to see how far he'll go." And sure enough, Trevor kept going. Another cousin reached out. Same story. A loan, a promise, and then radio silence. Only this time, Trevor had claimed I gave him the money to pay them back. He had used my name like a credit line. That was when it all clicked. Trevor was not just burning bridges. He was building new ones on the ashes, telling one person he paid me back, telling another that I had agreed to float his debts. Each lie propped up the last. And it worked for a while. Until people started talking. Ray reached out to a few family members privately, asked quiet questions, confirmed what I already suspected. Trevor had borrowed from at least 5 people, none of whom had been paid back. And each one had been told a different version of the truth. He was playing all of us against each other. But now, the stories were no longer adding up. And then Ray did something none of us saw coming. He called a family meeting and told Trevor to be there. In person. No excuses. It happened on a Sunday. Ray set it up like it was just a casual gathering. "Pizza and catching up," he said. But the tone in his voice? It was anything but casual. He told Trevor to come, told him everyone would be there, and that it was important. That word alone was enough to make Trevor show up. He always loved being the center of attention. I got there early. Sat in the far corner of Ray's living room, sipping a soda, trying to keep my breathing steady. One by one, people showed up. Tyler, a couple cousins, Aunt Jean, even our grandma, who usually stayed out of things unless it involved birthdays or funerals. Then Trevor walked in. He strolled through the front door like he owned the place. Hoodie half-zipped, sunglasses on inside like he was some kind of washed-up influencer. He dapped up Tyler, cracked a joke about finally getting everyone together, and grabbed a slice of pizza before even asking why we were all there. Ray let him settle in. Let the small talk drag on for 10, maybe 15 minutes. Then he stood up, clapped his hands, and said, "All right, let's get to it." The room quieted. All eyes shifted. "Trevor," Ray said, voice calm but sharp. "You got anything you want to say to the folks in this room?" Trevor blinked, chewing a mouthful of pepperoni. "Say what?" Ray's jaw flexed. "About the money. About the lies. About using your brother like a bank and the rest of us like fools." The silence that followed was the thick kind. The kind you feel in your teeth. Trevor looked around, confused. Or pretending to be. Then he said, Whoa. I don't know what Mike told you, but this is getting blown way out of. I didn't say a word to anyone. I cut in, voice steady. They found out on their own." Tyler shifted in his seat, suddenly very interested in the floor. Ray walked to the center of the room, holding a manila envelope, pulled out copies of Venmo screenshots, a copy of the repayment letter, a printout from another cousin showing 2,000 loans 6 months ago. He laid them out like evidence in a trial. Trevor's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound. Ray stepped closer. "You lied to all of us. Used Mike's name to cover your tracks. Made each of us think someone else was handling it. You turned this family into a collection of wallets. And when one said no, you called him heartless." Trevor's mask cracked, just a little. His voice got louder. "I was going through it, man. Y'all don't understand. Things got rough, and I was just trying to survive. By faking stories." Ray snapped. "By making us think Mike abandoned you? By dragging his name through the mud so you could keep the con alive?" Trevor stood up now, voice rising. "You act like I'm some criminal. I didn't steal from nobody. I just borrowed." "What? Now we're pressing charges over a few missed paybacks." Ray looked him dead in the eye. "We're not pressing charges. We're pressing accountability." And for the first time since this all began, Trevor looked scared. Not because of the money, but because the spotlight was no longer on his story. It was on who he really was. And just when I thought the night had peaked, Grandma stood up. And what she said next, it was the final blow. When Grandma stood up, the room fell dead silent. She was 82, walked with a cane, wore the same faded sweater she always did on Sundays. She did not talk much these days, just watched, listened. But when she spoke, people shut up and listened. She walked to the center of the room, her cane tapping slow and steady against the hardwood floor. Then she looked Trevor straight in the face and said, "You have been lying to me too, boy." Trevor blinked. "What?" Grandma raised a hand. It was shaking a little, but her voice? It was steady as stone. "Do not what me? Do not pretend like you did not come crying to me last winter. Told me you could not afford groceries. Said you had no one else. Told me Mike was doing fine, so I gave you $1,200 from what I had saved for emergencies." Trevor's face turned red. "I never." She cut him off with a look that could slice through steel. "Don't you dare lie to my face in my own family's living room." Ray slowly sat back down. You could hear the weight of the moment drop on everyone's chest. Grandma reached into her purse and pulled out a folded receipt. A bank withdrawal. $1,200. Dated 3 days before Christmas. She held it up. "I gave it because I believed you. Because you used him," she pointed to me, "to make yourself sound like the victim. Said he left you out in the cold. Said he did not care. Said he was too busy counting his money to help his own brother." I swallowed hard. Grandma turned toward me now, her eyes softer. "I almost believed him," she said quietly. "And I am sorry for that. You have always been steady. Maybe too quiet about your kindness. But I see now. I should have seen it sooner." Then she turned back to Trevor. "I buried your grandfather with less ceremony than you've given your pride." Trevor's mouth opened like he wanted to fight it. But nothing came out. The room stayed quiet. Not awkward quiet, final quiet. One by one, people began standing. Not to yell, not to scold, but just to leave. No dramatic exits. No parting words. Just realization. You could almost hear it in the way chairs scraped back and shoes shuffled toward the door. They were done. Tyler stood too. Looked at Trevor. Shook his head. "You played us, man." Trevor sat back down, slowly. Head in his hands. Finally silent. I stayed seated. Watched the fallout settle around us like dust after a storm. And for the first time in a long time, I felt peace. Because I had not raised my voice. I had not swung a punch. I had not burned a bridge. I had simply told the truth. And the truth did the rest. You might think that was the end. But a week later, Trevor showed up at my door. No lies. No charm. Just a single sentence that told me everything I needed to know. It was a Thursday evening. I had just gotten back from work. Still had my keys in one hand and a grocery bag in the other when I saw the shadow on my porch. Trevor. No hoodie. No fake smile. Just standing there, hands in his pockets, looking smaller than I had ever seen him. I set the bag down slowly, not saying a word. He looked up, eyes tired, and said, "I didn't think you'd let it get that far." That was it. No apology. No remorse. Just that. And it told me everything I needed to know. Because in that one sentence, he was not sorry for what he did. He was sorry he could not keep getting away with it. I looked at him. Not with anger. Not even sadness. Just clarity. "You mean you didn't think I'd stop letting you walk all over me?" He shifted his weight, tried to hold my gaze, but could not. "Everyone turned on me, man," he said, quieter now. "Even Grandma." "No," I told him. "They just finally saw you for who you've always been." He did not respond. I stepped around him, picked up my groceries, unlocked the door, and paused. "You need to figure out who you are without using people to survive." He nodded, but it was the kind of nod that meant nothing. I closed the door behind me. No dramatic slam, just a soft click. And I stood there for a second in my hallway, breathing it all in. The quiet, the stillness, the weight I had finally put down. It had taken me months to see it. Years, really, but the truth was never about the money. It was about what the money revealed. Trevor had not changed because of the 5,000. That debt, it was just a mirror. It showed me who he really was. And more importantly, it showed me who I was without him. Not the bank, not the savior, not the fool holding the rope. Just a man who finally understood the difference between helping someone and being used.